Thank you everyone for attending today. This is our community meeting. This link for Slack is not correct, but we do have a corrected link. If you are not in Slack already, which I have pinned to the channel, feel free to join us there. Our entire engineering team is there. I am there. I am Jamie, and I lead developer relations here at OpenHands. So excited to see so many people, and we will go ahead and kick it off. So congratulations that OpenHands has finished our Series A raise. We have raised over $18 million. Combined with our previous, it's a little bit over 23 million. It's really exciting. This was led by Madrona, and one of the exciting components is that it's going to allow us to expand and make OpenHands even better. As you can see, we've accomplished so much with our small but mighty team, and we are just very excited to see what is held for us in the future. It's really important for us to maintain our good relationship with our community, as well as continue to be open source. It's critical that we remain true to the open source nature, because it's important as we shape AI tooling for it to be democratized and available for everyone to use. So this is a wonderful thing that we've done, completed our Series A, and we're just so thankful for all of you who have been a part of our journey, and for those who will join us in the future. All of that being said, we are hiring for new roles. So if you are passionate about OpenHands, passionate about open source and AI, we definitely recommend for you to check out the available full-time positions that we have. And I dropped a link there. If you are interested, feel free to mark that you are a community member, and that will kind of like raise the flag for your application to be reviewed quicker. So yes, I encourage you to apply. We have engineering, we have research, we have product, and we have marketing. And we also have sales. So there are a lot of different positions. All right. So let's talk about hosting your own agents using AMD Ryzen AI. It's pretty exciting. Jingyao, are you in the call, and are you able to unmute?
Yep, of course. So this is actually, I got the machine right next to me, so I can showcase. It's a little bit bigger than the BGX we got earlier from NVIDIA, but like it's still like pretty lightweight. It's the AMD AI Max series. So it has like 128 gigs of RAM, and then out of those you can use like 96 gigs or something for GPU stuff, which means you can serve like you can serve your model locally and within such a tiny devices and run OpenHands with it, and that's essentially what the blog was all about.
Very exciting. And then out of curiosity, did you feel like it was good for programming and things like that versus lighter weight tasks?
Yeah, I think it's definitely good for like mostly lighter weight tasks, or the tasks that can be like, it's like the tasks that can be completed with like one single request. For example, you just want to change some files. The models we were using is like 32 billion model, so it's still like the model itself is pretty lightweight, so it's good for tiny tasks, but like not really. I don't think it's not really capable for like a larger scale refactor, all sorts of that things.
That makes sense. Very cool. All right, go back to the presentation. And then we also have our OpenHands V1 update. Tim can speak to this.
Yeah, no problem. We're actually, at the moment, internally, we've done a dark launch of this. So we're testing it out in our own usage at the moment as we speak. And we'll be exposing it to others outside of the organization, to the community at large. After that, if you want to try it out, let us know. It basically is using all of the great stuff that Jingyao and the agent team have been putting together over the last while, and the app stuff that the app server team have been working very hard on as well. So we should have a much more modular approach, and it's a little bit more performant than what we've got, which is nice as well to work through. So lots of good things coming. Yeah, and it continues to move forward.
Excellent. Yes. And also for those who are interested in contributing with the wrapping up of V1 and the launch, we will be able to mark a lot more good first issues. And we will also be focused on getting those contributor documentation ready so that those who are excited and want to help will have a clearer path to do so. So keep an eye out for that. Really excited that this is wrapping up. Anyways, we are going to go back to the presentation and we are going to talk about debugging with Datadog. So the idea behind this is when you get an alert and you need to take care of it. Hold on, there we go, window. All right, when you get an alert with Datadog, like you have to kind of like stop everything, kind of like investigate and see what's going on. The idea behind this is using the OpenHands Software Agent SDK, which is very flexible and something that we have a lot of examples with, including this example is somewhere in there as well. And so what if OpenHands could do that initial investigation for you? What if it could determine the gist of what's happening with the error, as well as being able to give you more context around it so that you can tackle it and squash it as quickly as possible. And so that's what this integration really is. It's using OpenHands with the Software Agent SDK in order to get that going. I will also drop this into the chat for people to further read about. And I noticed that somebody asked, which I think is a little bit related to this, you might say like, well, does the Software Agent SDK, I like need a subscription to OpenHands? Not necessarily. So when you use the cloud version of OpenHands or locally, etc., we do offer the ability to use LLMs that we have available, like OpenAI, as well as like Anthropic. You can use those, but at the same time, you can bring your own LLM model of your choice, whether that is the cloud version, that's something that we've recently rolled out, or if you're running locally, either with the CLI or GUI, you can bring the model of your choice. And if you're running locally, you can also use a locally run model as well if you're interested. Let's go ahead and talk about community events. We have a pretty packed schedule for the fact that next month is a holiday, has holidays, multiple. So Generation AI Conference, this is a part of API Days. This is a part of the future of software technology or something of that nature. It is in Paris. Robert and I and Simon will be there. Simon is a part of the research team. We are excited to see you. Come see us December 9th through 11th. We also have a happy hour that Koyeb, us, and also a open source graph company will be joining us. And that is also in Paris. That will be on the evening of December 9th. We hope to see you there. We will have stickers as well as a few swag to give out as well. And then the following week, we will be at QCon AI. This is in New York City. This is on the Upper East Side. If you're able to come out, we hope to see you there. And then virtually, we have our next community call on December 18th. And I can drop the link for us there. I realize I'm not. So please RSVP for that. And our community call will be similar to this format, except we will have the latest releases. We'll be able to give a shout out to our first-time contributors, as well as kind of go over some of the other product things down the road, which leads me to our next thing that I wanted to talk about, but I haven't talked about, but I'm going to talk about now, which is we now have ACP integration with Zed, which is pretty cool. And I do have a demo video from Jinyao that I would like to show. And I just need to get it up and share the correct screen for that. I will let him speak more to it.
Share that. Within that, we have like the documentation. Yeah, I'm also going to share it to the chat. So what is ACP? ACP is essentially like a standardized communication protocol. It was initiated by Zed IDE, And then it basically allows like agent developer to build an agent that supports ACP, and then you can use, for example, and it's possible for some IDEs or maybe for some terminal UI to support this protocol, so they can just interface with whatever like agents that have the ACP implementations. Today, for example, we already like today in the public repos, they already have like cloud code integration, codex integration, and right now we are also introducing like the OpenHands integration here. So how you're going to use it? It's like you're going to go through the typical setup flow of OpenHands CLI. And you download the CLI, you need to set up, for example, like your LMs and LM keys and make sure that the conversation works inside the CLI. And then inside that, you can just simply just open the agent setting and copy in like this type of like OpenHands ACP launch command into the agent server. And then like as shown in the demo video, like Jamie showed earlier, you'll be able to like create a new conversation with OpenHands like ACP. So one nice things about this is like we implemented like the resource request, so you can actually add files inside the IDE, and then it will automatically like expand the context window of the language model with the content of that file. And then the other like nice thing about the Zed IDE is that you get to follow OpenHands. Basically, the IDE will take you to whatever file OpenHands is reading or modifying. And then it also shows like, for example, the to-do list that OpenHands is like proposes and continue updating, and you can see like this to-do list get crossed whenever there is like new task item got completed. Yeah, I think that's pretty much for a quick walkthrough of like all the ACP stuff we support now.
Thank you. And actually, we have a question from Jim.
Yeah, I just wanted to, just congratulations. I've been looking forward to this. And I just want to also shout out my little interest in this, or my work on the other side of this, which is the agent client kernel. Because the value in ACP is in that it works with, it provides a way for coding agents to work with all kinds of editors, not just Zed. And so I don't care for Zed and most editors. I like Jupyter notebooks. And so agent client kernel allows you to run coding agents in chats in Jupyter notebooks. And the demo that it's running in there right now is Codex. But I want to use the best open source coding agent that exists. So I'm excited to wire it up and give it a whirl in with the agent SDK. But if somebody wants to get it, I got a lot of things cooking. If somebody wants to try and get it and needs any help about, Jim, how does this crazy thing get set up? Happy to hop on a call or a chat or whatever. And I would love to see it spin up with the agent SDK. Like I said, very exciting.
Yeah, this is awesome. I use Jupyter Notebook a lot myself, so I would love to hear your experience there. Also, let us know if you run into any like technical issues.
Well, since you like Jupyter Notebooks, it just launches with dev container. If you can see how Codex is in there, just swap in the agent SDK. It should just work, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. All right. Excellent. And with that, that is our general community call presentation. Like I said, please join for our next call. But it's great that we have so many people here. So we did just have a webinar that we will be sharing the presentation very soon about massive code refactors. And we do have some questions from the community there that I may ask. As right now is going to be just like open discussion for the community to ask any questions either through chat or unmuting. But before I monopolize the time, is there anyone who wants to kick off the discussion here with anything that is a burning question or maybe just a smoldering question? All right, I'm going to take silence as no. So there were some questions, and I think some have already been answered, but we're going to go ahead and kick it off with this question about what are your go-to models for on-prem? For example, something like GPT OSS without fine-tuning would be best open source that balances resources versus capabilities. For example, tool calling. Calvin said that Xinyao, you may have some opinions upon this.
Yeah, of course. So I think currently the best on-prem deployment model largely depends on like your GPU budget. So if you have enough like GPU budget, you're gonna use like this agent a lot, I would recommend go for the bigger ones. For example, the DeepSeek, the latest V3.2, Kimi K2. Well, I mean, it's a trillion parameter model, so it took like multiple nodes to serve that. And then take a step back. I think on the smaller scale, I think the best option we have now would be like the Qwen coder, Qwen 3 coder, 30 billion, like 3 billion parameter activation. And then, yeah, I think that would be the most that would be the smallest model that everybody can serve that will work reasonably well. Yeah, and the other option would be like the Depstro that we released with Mistral a while ago.
Excellent. Thank you. And then we also had a question from Val, who I believe, from the previous webinar, who I believe is also here. And this is, from my real project experiences, how are you confident from 0% to 100% to manage complex infrastructure of the project, for example, your prod AWS environment, with AI and this approach, massive code refactoring using OpenHands? Assume we have Terraform code for any/all resources.
Yeah, I think that's actually what we are doing, right? Like we have a Terraform repo that holds all the production stuff with OpenHands Cloud, and then we are basically like using OpenHands to manage it in a way that whenever someone needs a like new IAM request, they basically send a message in the Slack and just add OpenHands, add stuff to it. And I think the Datadog example, Jamie, you showed earlier, is also like a way to maintain like our issues. I remember Graham actually used that GitHub workflow, put in the Datadog API key, and then the API key would just listen to all the errors that's tracking our production event, and then the agent would actually go in, read the error, clone all the associated repo, understand the source of those errors, and put out a pull request either to the infrastructure itself or to the application itself to fix them.
Cool. Can I clarify that? Do you mean that it's like actually automatic deployment as well for the any generated code?
Sorry, what do you mean by like automatic deployment?
I mean not only write the code but also apply it. I mean, is it applied directly by AI? Did you have any database issues or something like that?
So it's been on a PR. You will plan, but like it won't apply until you approve and merge it. Otherwise, it gets too scary. Okay,
sounds good.
But like the other thing I think I've been personally using is like giving OpenHands CLI a good cuddle, and then just ask it to look at the pods and diagnose errors.
Yeah, I've linked an agent called StackPack, which my friend George involved in. That's has had a lot of work optimized specifically for it being good at Terraform. I don't think we've done an A/B test, but we with OpenHands on those tasks. But we do use OpenHands pretty regularly to help contribute to our Terraform. If you're asking about like, does it just completely manage our infrastructure for us? Like, if you want to roll dice, I'm sure you could get some result doing such things. I don't think that's a good use of coding agents today.
Yeah, our typical usage is more like any other human developer. Like anyone that's going to touch prod, you make sure to make it as minimal as possible, as necessary as possible, and you always have one other person verifying what's going on. So it's the same whether it's an AI that wrote the code or whether it's a human that wrote the code.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, follow ownership principle. Makes sense? Yeah, thank you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you for the good question. Cool. There's another question from Mohammed. I don't think he's here, but how do you evaluate the functional parity of legacy versus modernized codes?
Like
So-
in general?
Yeah, some context. This comes from a webinar we just had about using agents to migrate legacy code, large scale code refactors, things like that. In general, it really just does depend on the actual kind of equivalence that you care about. Sometimes when you're migrating a legacy code, all you care about is I hit a button and this thing happens. Other times, whenever you migrate legacy code, you really, really care about what is happening under the hood, because other systems have come to depend on, your refactoring code operating in a very particular way. So one easy and relatively automated way of actually making sure that you're getting reasonable, testing at whatever granularity makes sense is, number one, identifying that granularity, and then number two, using an agent to write you some tests. Agents don't usually write like very good or interesting or particularly deep tests, but if all you're looking for is, some sort of like observational equivalence or parity from function A to function B, just having an agent generate some synthetic inputs, recording those outputs, and making sure that the migrated function operates the same can get you, a good chunk of the way.
Thanks so much for attending, and hope to see you at the next call.